here in just a second. Okay, and that's all good. So you are up and going there, David, and you may launch when ready.
All righty. Thank you so much, gentlemen. In 3, 2, 1. Welcome, everybody. It is Perilous World Radio. David Masters here. Today, understanding the Holy Eucharist and the myth of the rapture. Now, it's not that time of year yet. It's not that time where people start focusing on the idea that Jesus is going to return. And personally, I have no doubt that that will be the case, that Jesus will come back. But I have to go into this just a little bit because there are deceptions. There's great deceptions that can literally derail a person's relationship with God. And of course, if you believe the wrong thing, no matter what it is, doesn't that somehow interfere with actual reality? And look, the idea of okay, when we saw Star Wars and we saw Obi-Wan Kenobi get struck down by Darth Vader, he comes back in an ethereal form. But so it's you can suspend your disbelief when you watch science fiction because you know it's a story. But the greatest story ever told, is the story of Jesus. And Jesus will return as in his human and ethereal form. I don't know. I think they will be together. The human Jesus and the ethereal form of Jesus together in one manifestation. And I believe that there will be a war between good and evil at that time. And the war is ongoing anyway. Our commander will just return. So about a year ago, maybe longer, but I think it was about a year ago, occasionally I will go to a local church here for Christmas, and various times of year I like to go and, have fellowship. But this pastor really, really stuck his neck out and told the truth. So I'm going to play what I recorded, I think about a year ago, about Pastor Ryan telling the truth. Here it comes. I go to a church here, and the pastor is really waking up. In his last message, he literally threw in the rapture. And he said, now look, you guys, I know this is going to upset a lot of people. He already prefaced it by saying that the rapture is not in the Bible. I don't know why he did it, but he threw out the truth.
Well, maybe because it's not in the Bible.
No, because he knew he was going to get flack for it.
Yeah.
So he threw it out and he said, look, it's something that was invented in the 1800s by one person. It's so weird because now everybody has taken it up. All these high-level preachers.
Left Behind.
Kevin Sorbo. Yeah,
exactly.
But here's what's interesting about it. I heard somebody that's close to me say, well, he was wrong. I believe in it. And everybody agrees. And I thought, there it is right there. It's a consensus belief.
Yeah.
It's a consensus. It's not about the truth. It's not about the truth anymore. It's about the consensus. Well, a lot of people, everybody agrees that the rapture is real, and I believe it.
It's a mass formation.
It is a mass formation. But here's the point that's most important. They believe it because they want to believe it.
Yes, of course.
No, wait,
and they believe themselves among those who are going to be raptured.
But there's more to it.
Which is a big virtue signal.
Self-serving belief.
Totally.
And the self-servingness of it is, who knows, maybe there's a history of bad things that happened in that person's life. The self-serving aspect of it is, well, I won't have to go through the tribulation. I won't have to face the things that I need to face in order to be, forgiven and whatever. It is a totally and completely self-serving device. And it is the opposite of what a Christian actually does. A Christian is a person who gives and who provides service and accepts the truth and embraces the truth rather than saying, well, he's wrong. Everybody else agrees. I believe it because I want to believe it. This is the Democrat Party. Trump is guilty because they want to believe he's guilty. There's no truth in that. It is an empty package.
They're creating their own reality.
It's evil. It's evil. And the person who has the best of intentions saying, well, I believe the rapture, but their best intentions are really rooted in bad intentions because, well, okay, what if it is the truth that it's not in the Bible? You know, I mean, the Bible is the Bible, and pretty much everything that's in the Bible has been verified in terms of even the historical aspects of it.
Yeah, but listen,
not the rapture.
If you spend any amount of time on social media, you'll understand very quickly that Democrats, not 100%, but as a general rule, they don't believe in Christianity at all. They mock it at every turn. But what happens is they also use Christianity to beat Christians.
Yeah.
They use it as a club to beat Christians. In other words, they call them out on, well, your religion says this. And you're a bad person because you're not doing it like that. Like in, say, the case of the homelessness.
Yeah, it's co-opted for nefarious.
Yeah, right.
But well-meaning, but nefarious causes. And I want to say,
sure,
there was a Twilight Zone episode, you're probably familiar with it, called To Serve Man. You remember that?
I remember the story about it.
In a nutshell, these 10-foot-tall alien creatures land, and they give the authorities a book, which is undecipherable. And then they invite 50,000 people to come on their ship and go back to their planet with them. And at the very end, one of the scientists comes running because he's figured out what the code is.
Yes.
A cookbook. A cookbook.
Spaceships blinking in the night sky. Strange beings descend from the high. Hey, little man with your big dreams. Guess what? We gonna take you to extremes.
All right, so that's the point. It is self-serving. There are many things that are self-serving, by the way. And aren't we all kind of creatures of self-servingness? That we believe what we want to believe? Even, you know, it's like if you look at the Democrats and you see how they will actually lie. Just straight up lie about almost everything. They do it because they know that there's somebody out there who will begin to believe and doubt, right? You know what I'm saying? And there are people in your own life that will do that to you. They will lie straight up to you and try to get you to doubt yourself. Well, remember, we've dealt with this stuff before, right? The story of the Garden of Eden is that God had already warned Adam and Eve what not to do. And he told them what would happen when it did. So here's the trajectory of the confuser is to constantly try to find a way to get you to doubt. And you have a conscience. That conscience is connected to your creator, right? So through that conscience, you have that sense of what's right and wrong. You kind of already know, because if you didn't know, why would you ever say, oh, why didn't I listen to myself? Well, you could have listened to yourself. And sometimes you have to learn from experience so that you know that next time you won't make the same mistake. But man, when you make the same mistake over and over, it's because you really believe that when you respond to a lie as if it were a truth, you're doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different outcome. And that is a definition of insanity, truly. So, yeah, Pastor Ryan, a very bright guy. He had all kinds of addiction issues when he was younger, and he's a really spiritual young man. He's probably only 45 years old, but really, he's not afraid to tell the truth. Now, the question is, who's afraid to tell the truth? Well, it depends upon who your accusers are. Right? Jesus wasn't afraid to tell the truth. And, the disciples went out and told the truth. And there are people right now in our world telling the truth. And of course, they get all kinds of pushback and threats and punishment and all the rest of it. I mean, they want to put ICE agents in jail for doing their job. Hello? Those dark side evil monsters that are running these dark blue states and counties. And man, I'll tell you, we are up against something really, really dangerous. Quick break here, and I will continue on the other side. And welcome back. It is Perilous World Radio. All right. Well, here's the thing. If you're going to be a true Christ follower, there's going to be a price. If you think about it objectively, it's going to cost you. It costs you in the form of surrender to what is right. And as a result of that, there will be punishments applied. Because when you surrender to what's right, when you are obedient to what's right, you're going to offend people. I mean, you've already experienced it, just in small ways. You experience what it's like to have the truth upset and discombobulate people. Well, so today I have, and I want to talk about the mark of the beast. And so this is another pastor, which he lays out what actually the mark of the beast is, because you know what? I do believe, as I've said, that I believe that Christ will return. Our captain, our commander will be back. And so I'm going to play the real reason why people will take the mark of the beast. Here it comes.
Now, if we were to ask the majority of people right now if the Antichrist comes with the mark of the beast, or if the time for the mark of the beast comes, will they take the mark? The answer you will hear from most people is no. But the Bible reveals to us that people will indeed take the mark. And there are a number of different reasons why people will take the mark. How do you think the devil will place the mark? What approach do you think he will use to get people to collect it? If we want to look at the approach of the devil, we will have to start with the world today. Many of us will hear of the mark of the beast, or the fact that people will worship the beast, and what we think is that it will all happen in the distant future, years from now, centuries from now. But that's not true. I would go as far as saying it has already started, but people don't see it yet. We might have not been seeing the mark on people around the world, but are we not seeing what the mark signifies in the world now? The significance of the mark is in the world today, and we are turning a blind eye to it. There are three major ways the devil will do this, and we will expand on the three ways and how they are working in the world today. The three major ways are coercion, deception, and idolatry. Two of these reasons are interlocked together. Idolatry is dependent on deception. No one will go into idolatry except they have been deceived by someone or something. These are the plans of the devil to make people collect the mark. Number one, coercion. Revelation chapter 13, verses 16 through 17 of the King James Version says, "And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name."
Yes, I agree with that. I believe that at some level, everybody has already taken it. And because you have a bank account, you have a social security number, these are all things that are marks. and they identify you. And through that, they know you. It's weird. If you think about it, you can know a lot about, I mean, today, just as an example, when they want to find out about you, they look at your social media. Now, unfortunately, for you, you tell people a lot about yourself that probably you shouldn't. But you identify very quickly and easily whenever they ask you to agree to whatever it is you're about to do on your internets. You do, and then they have access to it, and they have the right to use it. And even if you say I don't want my information being shared, it means nothing, because what are you going to do? What are you going to do if they start sharing around your information? Would you know it anyway? But here's the funny part of it, is that for those of you who use social media and the internet, it's sending you pop-up ads tailored directly to you. So how does it know that? Well, these algorithms read everything, and they basically have the data on you. So the mark of the beast is a concept about which most people are really ignorant. Just like the rapture, there's no such thing, but there is a mark of the beast, that's for sure. And for the most part, you already likely accepted it. And so this is what they're doing in places like England, where if somebody sends out a text, the police show up at your door if it's politically incorrect enough or whatever. If they just want to make an example of you. Yeah, that's right. And they're doing it in Australia and England and France and other places. That Europe is gone. And they have the replacement population of millions of immigrants, which we are trying to deal with in this country after the ultimate traitor. I mean, even Obama deported 3 million people. Just saying. So we had the ultimate puppet traitor put in a position of power and authority, the Bidenian class of people, and all the people that surround him. Can you imagine Kamala Harris as being a president of the United States and the ghouls that surround her? I can't even imagine. I mean, you would literally be tracked down for having opposing views to this dark occult of human demons. Truly. And I don't even think Biden had any self-awareness whatsoever. He just went along with every dark and evil thing that his handlers put in front of him, including reading his cues when he was giving speeches. This is just a puppet. But isn't it true that we are all, in a way, just puppets? I mean, the truth is that when you become obedient, when you surrender to your creator, that creator provides you talking points. And there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. Because how do you think the Revelation was written anyway? It was provided by insight spiritually. The flip side of that is the dark side. How do musicians, and often they talk about how they write these amazing songs that they write. They don't even know how they were able to write. I heard one guy talking about a song he wrote. I think it was Bob Dylan. And Bob Dylan talking about how he surrendered to the king of this world. Now, I don't know the king, maybe the prince. But anyway, back in the day, he admitted that he gave up everything for fame. I'll be right back. In 3, 2, 1. All right, welcome back. I'm sure that you have had some kind of conditioning in your life a lot of people that go to these various churches, law of attraction type churches, and, Pentecostal and all of these kind of excitement-based churches and or hell and damnation-based churches have had some kind of an imprint, like a psychological, spiritual imprint placed upon you, a mark. And I have to share this idea with you. It's just a theory, but I do believe that a lot of these people who say that they experience UFO abduction type events were people that were marked at some point. They all say that they've been followed since they were a child. A lot of these people do anyway, but most of them have been marked as children for some kind of a violation experience that turns them into, let's say, a spokesperson for some cause that is not, let's just say, of God. The people who have this propensity to promote these alien ideas, in my opinion, are people who have been compromised by some kind of evil, some kind of unconscious evil that has turned them into something that they shouldn't be. And they, I know a lot of people express that they're afraid of talking about these when they have these experiences. But one thing that I discovered when I was doing research on this, and I've researched it for many, many years, Professor John Mack of Harvard University wrote a number of books on the abduction. He said one thing that he found that all of these people that he had interviewed, I mean, maybe with some exceptions, but most of the people he interviewed, the thing they had in common was that they were molested as children. Now, what does that tell you? What does that tell you? Yeah. So, yeah. All right, here comes another clip of the pastor talking about the real reason why people will take the mark.
The second beast, who is known as the false prophet, will ensure that people will have to take the mark, because without it, an individual will not be able to buy or sell. Now think of the pressure that this will put people under. Imagine the strain that this will put on the father of a family, knowing that he cannot provide for his family unless he takes this mark. Look at the lengths people go to in order to have money in their pocket. People go as far as doing illegal activities such as armed robbery because they don't have money. All this father needs to do is take the mark, and then he can buy and sell again. He will try to hold out, but when he sees a loved one struggling, he will give in. Think of a single mother who is alone and has to look after her kids. She may even know her eternal destiny will be sealed by her taking the mark, but she will still go ahead and do it. Rather than focusing on their eternity, people will focus on the here and the now. Don't you think that is what people do already? People focus on the here and the now. But the Bible reminds us constantly that there is an eternity, and that is what people should focus on. Our decision should be based on eternity.
But the question then is, where is eternity? This is one of those things where the ministers are very weary and they're very skeptical about these concepts that are generally new agey. But eternity, where is it? Where does it exist? Where is eternity actually? That's right. It's in the here and the now, because there is no yesterday and there is no tomorrow. These are all constructs of our own mind. These are constructs of our own expectations and or the trailing of unfinished business or things that we leave behind us. So I just want to make that point that just because it sounds like it's New Age, see, even the devil actually is able to take the best of ideas, like, for example, Christianity, and turn it into an LGBTQ, BLT concept of loving everybody just because God loves everybody just the way they are. And God wants you to have everything you ever wanted. See, these ideas can be taken and corrupted. Just saying. Just saying. Don't fall for that, because eternity cannot exist anywhere but in the here and now.
The second reason is deception. The first approach of the devil on any occasion is deception. There is a reason why Jesus called this being the father of lies. We know about technology and those who invented the technology. Satan invented lies and deceit. John chapter 8, verse 44 of the King James Version says, "Ye are of your father, the devil, and the lusts of your father ye will do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own, for he is a liar, and the father of it."
When you see the news media and you see the politicians, they are the children. They are the children of the dark side. I mean, how else can you look at it? Now, they can always change sides. Some of them do. Some people walk across the line into the light because they've seen the error of their ways. But you know what? And that is the nature of repentance. When you realize you're going the wrong way, repentance means to turn around and go the other way. If you're walking into a volcano and all of a sudden you wake up and you go, oh my gosh, I got to get out of here. You got to do it right. You got to go back toward the light. Just never forget that side of things. Because where are you going to go when you realize you're going the wrong way? You're going to try to find your way to the light, to what's right. And by the way, I have to say, these people who are lying to us day in and day out, what else can they be, I ask you, other than the children of the darkness? What else could they be? Are they messengers from above or below? So when you see them, you don't be tempted to hate them. Don't. Because you always become like what you hate, which is, if you hate hypocrites and liars, you become one. And or, like this guy that was recently shot by the ICE agents for kicking out the taillight of the car they were in, and other things. But he was a emergency room nurse, from what I understand, a military guy, co-opted. Is that what you call love of country, when you fight the deportation of rapists and pedophiles and God knows what, when you fight for them against your fellow countrymen? So this person was co-opted. It's a very sad state of affairs, I have to tell you. Might have otherwise been a really good person, but all it takes is one bad idea. It's like a car accident. And I like to watch these police shows on YouTube. And the police chases, most of them are over silly things, but a lot of these people, when they get pulled over, they're guilty of a lot more than the silly thing they're pulled over for. So they take off, and the police have to chase them down. But they didn't necessarily have to run. And a lot of times the policeman tells them, why did you run? They take off driving 100 miles an hour, endangering the lives of other people. And they say, well, I was scared. I'm sorry. And then they find that they have drugs and other things in their vehicles. But see, that one moment of doing the wrong thing leads to the domino effect of consequences. That's why you have to detect it so that you can deflect it. If you detect the temptation, if you detect the moment of truth where you could otherwise, okay, you got me. I mean, this one I watched the other night, this guy just was pulled over for a seatbelt infraction. He hadn't run. He wouldn't have ended up in jail for some, 30 or 40 years for all the crazy things that he did because he gave in to that impulse to try to get away. Never going to get away. The truth is going to catch up to you. It's just going to. And unfortunately for, some people, the further they go in trying to escape from the truth, the worse the consequences are. I just think, watch these police chase shows. They're really good. They're really good for that reason. And the policemen are just doing their job, just like the ICE agents are just doing their job. And these people that go crazy, I mean, I can't believe they have so much tolerance for this, the abuse that they take. I tell you what, policemen, they don't put up with it. They just don't put up with it. Policemen are given a heavier hand than agents of the federal government. They're restrained to doing the thing that they are sent to do. And policemen, they have a big, they have a big swath they can cover of legal actions they can take against people. And but the news media is also complicit. They keep repeating and playing this over and over, and even good people will get sucked into it was not fair the way they treated him. Baloney. Baloney, I say. FHU.com. Find out more. I'll be right back. All right, welcome back. I hope you're finding this interesting. And there is a reason why people will take the mark of the beast when they're told that they have to, if that day ever comes. It may not. Mark of the beast, I think we've already got it for the most part. And because we all agree, it's like hypnosis too. Hypnosis means that you have to allow somebody to have an influence over you. And without that, hypnosis doesn't actually work. But so if you have a weakness toward a thing, in a way, there's an agreement with that thing to satisfy some need that you have or some desire or some want. You have an agreement. And in that agreement, you give power. It's just something to think about.
Satan is the founding father of lies. If you look at the history of destruction of Satan, his method of choice has included deceit to some extent. Check anything Satan destroyed. He used deceit. In the Garden of Eden, he used deceit. He tried it on Jesus, but failed. He will, and he is using the same method today in the world. Maybe you are thinking that the devil will come at the end of the world and start to deceive many people or start telling them lies about his original appearance. In Revelation 13, there are two beasts. The first beast is the Antichrist, and the second beast is the false prophet. The false prophet endorses the Antichrist to the world and urges the world to worship the first beast. Now look at what the false prophet does. Revelation chapter 13, verse 14. And he deceives those who dwell on the earth by those signs which he was granted to do in the sight of the beast, telling those who dwell on the earth to make an image to the beast who was wounded by the sword and lived.
Do you see the pride flags? And Tim Walz, it is true that he was given a gift of a plaque with Baphomet on it. That's a baby Satan. And he accepted it. Well, he could have said, oh, no, I couldn't possibly accept that. These are all the imagery that is being described here. And when you have certain kinds of imagery, believe it or not, it is a sign of acceptance. So if you allow certain things, if you look at certain things, yeah, there's certain things you can't unsee. There's certain things that get seared deeply into your psyche, into your spirit, into your soul. Certain ideas that get seared like a cattle gets branded. So the average person has no idea that that's what they're doing when they allow certain kinds of ideas or imagery or thoughts, right? I mean, you have power to control what it is that your mind thinks, unless you don't, right? Unless you've somehow stepped away from what it is that allows you to control your mind. So a person who, let's just say, for example, a person that has diabetes, they have control. They can exercise control over what they consume. But when you get around that sweet-smelling piece of cake or donut or your favorite, whatever it is, your favorite food, you see the struggle. You can feel, I have type 2. I see the struggle. I experience the struggle. Because what does the Bible say? You're first of flesh and second of spirit. So your flesh is going to say, go on. Go on, it's not going to hurt. A little bit of this and a little bit of that. But see, you can exercise control by knowing, by detecting it, by detecting the reasoning that jumps in and says, go ahead, have a piece. And it's not that it's a sin. You see, that's the other thing that's interesting about it. It is the sands through the hourglass that collect. Little by little, not going to hurt you. Well, not right away anyway. Anyway, I will continue.
He will deceive those on the earth to take the mark. The means of his deception will be through signs and wonders. People will see these wonders and will marvel at the false prophet and will listen to him as he directs worship to the Antichrist. Jesus said that in the end times, false prophets would emerge and show great signs and wonders to deceive many. Matthew chapter 24, verse 24 says, "For there shall arise false Christs and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect." We all know that Revelation 14 details to us that 3 angels will be sent by God to preach the gospel. But this deception is so powerful that even though people will see angels flying and warning them not to take the mark, some will still go ahead and take them.
I think we've already given in for the most part. Everybody's given in at some level, but some more than others. You see, I see it. It's like this. The cupcake shops have the cupcake. Oh, you see the cupcake. Your mouth starts to water. See, the deception and the temptation is so strong that even on a cupcake level, it's not that this cupcake is a sin itself. A knife is not a murder weapon just because it's a knife. A cupcake isn't a murder weapon or a death weapon against you just because it's a cupcake. It's how you deal with it. It's what you see or don't see about it. That's the strangest part of this whole thing. Not everything in and of itself is an evil thing. But in the use of service of ego and self, that's when it all changes. It turns into something else. It shifts from one thing to another. Be Still and Know is the exercise you need to experience at FAQ.com. I'll be right back. All right, continuing this hour couple more clips about the real reason people will take the mark of the beast, which you've already done anyway. Now all you have to do is untake it. And that is easy because, believe it or not, if you stop doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different outcome or result, just stop. Just stop. Now, I know that that's not necessarily easy to do, but there's some things that are easy to do. Like, for example, talking about cupcakes. Let's say somebody brings over a box of donuts. How often do you say no to the donut? That's not the donut. That's the problem. It's the impulse to consume it. That's the problem. So is the impulse in charge, or are you in charge of the impulse? Is the impulse in charge of you, or are you in charge of the impulse? But you can apply that to just about anything. Now, it's not so easy when it comes to emotional things, like somebody could be mean to you. Somebody could kind of try to push your buttons. So the question is that person in charge of pushing your buttons, or are you in charge of not allowing them to push your buttons? It's very binary. It's black and white. Now the question is, to some degree, you may not be in charge, but you can gain control. Have you ever seen yourself getting upset, and then the awareness dawns on you? Wait a minute, you don't have to stop now. Just stop. Let it go. See, so it's a domino effect of giving in or stepping back. The domino effect of stepping back is there may come another realization. If you catch yourself getting upset or having your buttons pushed, and you realize somebody just pushed my button, oh, I just saw my button get pushed. Then you step back another step and you go, I see what caused that to happen. And then you step back another step and you say, now you're coming back to peace, right? They disturb your peace, and then you see what happened, and then you see why it happened. And now you get to have this progressive awakening. I call it the reverse domino effect of awakening, right? You step back and you stand up and you become conscious progressively in the right direction. Now, it doesn't mean it won't happen again, but if you're learning from experience, which is a powerful experience to have in and of itself, when you learn like a child, like when I remember my mom used to warn me, don't put your finger in the light socket, right? In the electrical socket. Don't do it. And I remember the day I thought, I wonder why. So I stuck my finger in. Learned. You learn from experience. You learn. There's a lot of things you learn from that pain, right? Don't put your finger in the fire because the fire burns. Well, what's that feel like? Ouch. You see what my point is, though? And some people just simply never actually learned, though. Now, why is that? This is a great question. Why is it that some people learn and some people don't? And I can go to a cliche. There are none so blind as those who will not see. And so if you want to take a look at an entire mass formation of people called Democrats and or liberals, aka communists, even though communists killed 150 million people over the last 100 years, they're still electing mayors in New York and other places. Communists. They're still going back to the source of death itself. That doesn't necessarily mean that the mayor of New York is going to go around killing people, but how many people who are stupid, I mean literally stupid, literally, like ignorant to ignore, how many people are there like that who just ignore the facts? And you see them on the news every single day. And misery, that kind of misery, loves company. Those miserable, rotten, corrupt human beings, they just love company. You know why? Nobody can stand being alone unless they stand in the truth. They stand in the truth, they can stand anything. But if you don't stand in the truth, you want to be surrounded by your own, by your kind. You want to be surrounded and supported and embraced and loved and seen by your own kind. That's what animals are. Animals do that. There are some animals that are very solitary. And then there are the herd animals. They feel safety in numbers. And their identity stems from, part of their identity stems from at least the mass formation, right? The dung beetle. Look it up. Look up the dung beetle. And what the dung beetle does is if any of the dung beetles, they exist usually in a swarm. And if any one dung beetle tries to escape the swarm, the others tear it down and destroy it. That's how identified the other dung beetles are in the swarm, in the mass formation. Mass formation. Dr. Robert Malone, who was one of the inventors of the mRNA technology, talked about the mass formation psychosis. And he talked about how, the COVID-19 pandemic was a military, first-class military psyop. And he was canceled. And him and Joe Rogan almost got thrown off the air for having that discussion, just having the discussion. I'll find that clip and play it for you, because you got to realize you're dealing with something not of this world.
We see this in Revelation 14.
In the book of Revelation, John was able to record the prophecy of 3 angels. The prophecies of those angels are recorded in Revelations 14, verse 6 to 16, and they are to be taken into cognizance so that we can be at watch. Here we have one of the most awesome scenes in the history of mankind. Angels will be seen by everyone on earth, in the corners of all the world. Angels will be seen literally flying, preaching unto men. What a sight! What a moment! We don't know the identity of these angels, but they are coming. People will be sitting in their homes looking out of their windows and see these angels. People will be driving in the most remote locations of the world and will see and hear these angels. People will be in the middle of the sea, but they will see the angels and hear the gospel. God will give the choice to all humanity to accept the gospel. God will warn humanity. God will plead with humanity, and that is what these angels will do. Warning humanity, pleading humanity to make the right choice. He is a God that cares. The wonderful thing is that as I am preaching this message, we are getting closer to the arrival of these angels. Every second, every minute, every hour, every day brings us closer to their arrival.
Amen. Amen. I believe it. I have been talking about angels recently. I know that there are angels present in our lives. You don't maybe yet know it. I pray that one day you will. But these forces, just like demonic dark forces, are real. They are absolutely real. They are present. And if you call, if you call your dog comes running. So why not try calling on your angel? I'm just saying. Could it really hurt? Or would you feel a little bit embarrassed? I don't know. Luck favors the prepared, as I always say, and Be Still and Know helps you be prepared at FHU.com. I'll be right back. And welcome back. Elton John, strange guy. But he wrote a song, or he actually sang a song called Candle in the Wind. Mm-hmm. That is the story of everyone's life. I don't care how good or bad you are. That's all you got, is you got this little bit of time. And depending upon how you use it and what you do with your life or what you don't do with your life, when that candle gets blown out, it's not like you cease to exist. It's you continue on somewhere, somehow. And this is the unseen realm, not what we see on this earth, although we see it manifesting in the form of either good or evil people. We see good. And I think that there's a natural propensity or proclivity toward the recognition of good over evil. Now, children have it. What happens to children as they grow into this world and the world grows into them? Something is diminished. Some sensitivity is reduced. Yeah. So children, yes, indeed, children. Here comes another clip.
Even though the gospel will be preached by the 144,000 and the 3 angels and the 2 witnesses, the God of this world will still be at work doing what the Bible tells us in 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 4, which says, "In whom the God of this world hath blinded the minds of them which believe not, lest the light of the glorious gospel of Christ, who is the image of God, should shine unto them." And number 3, idolatry. The third method is idolatry. After the deception has set in, the first beast will be an idol. He will be loved and adored. Although he is energized by the very power of hell, he is still a man, and people will worship him. The Antichrist's demand for worship will be so extreme, he will set himself up as God. A man will be worshipped. People think...
Anybody think of somebody right now? See, Gavin Newsom, anybody? Yeah, this desperate fool who really thinks he's something. I mean, I just, when I see these people, I think they're characters in a story. And this story, this biblical story that we find out about, either by reading it or by hearing about it. Gavin Newsom, he is really, I don't know if he has a human soul anymore. He's a human. And the people that he surrounds himself, they truly look up to him. They almost like worship this guy. But even the people who like him, I think they can see something about him. I think they can see that he's like a twisted up weirdo. Very strange person. Very almost possessed. Anyway.
This is so far-fetched. But the people of this world already practice worshiping people now. Look at the culture of celebrities, where people place other human beings on a pedestal, where people faint when they see another person, where people scream hysterically when they meet another person. I have even seen people bowing and worshiping a celebrity. This culture has even infiltrated the church. Celebrity pastors are becoming more prominent. People are to love their pastor, but not to worship them. I love my pastor, but I don't worship him. I look after my pastor, but I don't worship him. In all honesty, we live in a culture of idols. Idolatry is whatever you worship. Whatever you put first in your life is an idol. Idolatry will come in when you have been deceived. When you are an idolater, be clear of this: you are not a child of God. I will repeat that. If you are an idolater, you are not a child of God.
Yes, well, Doesn't everybody have an idol of some sort? It doesn't matter. I mean, you see these people that have those lowrider type cars. That's their idol. That's how they identify, what it is that they're into and what it is that's important to them. See, the idol. An idol isn't necessarily just an image or a statue. Is it? You think of idolatry as something, but it could be anything. The love of money, one of the 7 deadly sins. This is all, in my opinion, idolatry. It's because why is a sin deadly anyway? It takes you so far away from your relationship with God. I mean, and I think that most people have had that experience of really drifting down the rabbit hole into hell in a relationship with something. It could be a person, could be a place, could be a thing.
Don't say you are being judged or you are being condemned. This is not the time to be thinking someone is condemning you. This is a warning, and it is nothing compared to the eternal damnation that will come to every idolater. You may be saying that you are not an idolater, but you love money more than God. Matthew chapter 6, verse 24 of the King James Version says, "No man can serve 2 masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will hold to the one and despise the other. Ye cannot serve God and mammon." We also have it in Luke chapter 16, verse 13 of the King James Version that no servant can serve 2 masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will be loyal to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and mammon. You must love one and hate the other. You cannot love money more than God and say, you love God. The Antichrist will be idolized, loved, and adored. Some people take the mark because of this, because he is their idol.
Everybody's got one. Maybe you don't. But you can just see it. What they've done is they've changed it. And they call it a lifestyle. Whatever it may be. So it could be, and I'm not attacking any particular faith, but some people, they got to go to church 5 days a week or whatever it is. Their church becomes their idol, becomes the whatever it is that controls their life. So they ministers, and even this minister was saying you can't worship your minister. Well, what is worship anyway? This is a problem that people have to understand. Jesus said, worship in spirit and in truth. Well, that's really a very ethereal thing. It's not a thing. It's an ethereal, invisible, spiritual thing. Okay, I got to take a quick break. FA2.com is where you find out more about the Be Still and Know exercise, and I'll be right back. All right, welcome back. Now, I've got some Roy Masters here talking about the Holy Communion. That's what it is. And I've always wondered, it's like you go to Catholic-oriented churches and they have the little wafer and the wine. And yes, it's very beautiful and powerful, but what does it actually mean? Oh, let's find out.
Now, Larry, we want to talk about communion.
I have to say that I enjoyed the blabber there. That was very interesting.
Thank you, David. He's very verbal.
Yes, he can have his own show.
Yes, he has had his own show. Listen, I like what the Catholics do. They have not what the bishops and the naughty boys do, but the point is the Catholics have more of what Jesus. That Holy Communion is a very interesting ritual.
I'd like to just frame this just a little bit.
Okay.
I'm Roman Catholic myself. I'm almost 65 years old.
Yes.
So I was born, raised educated, indoctrinated, whatever, with the Catholic teachings and beliefs. Now, I am Catholic today by choice, as opposed to
that's
being a child in
that's
disease.
very good.
So I'm Catholic by choice. My interpretation, or what I glean from what the Catholic Church believes, is, and maybe other churches do too, I don't think so, but I may be wrong, that the body and the wine and the bread are literally, not figuratively, literally changed into the blood and into the body of Jesus Christ. And when we partake in that by drinking the blood and drinking the bread, that literally becomes a part of us, if you will. It's like medicine.
I'm in full agreement, but it's a matter of how it's done, because you cannot do this mechanically. You cannot walk up, partake of a wafer and a little bit of wine and go off and say a few Hail Marys. That is not good enough. That is a ritual, and rituals are hypnotic. You don't want a hypnotic Catholic. You said yourself, you're now a Catholic by choice, but before you were by indoctrination. I understand that. You also may be a Catholic by thinking that you choose, because you don't know how to divest yourself of the indoctrination, so you accept it. You accept it. But now, my Sunday morning conversations, it's called Eat and Drink This, Remembering Me. I prepared the person to drink the wine in the sense of what Jesus meant. Eat this, remembering me. Well, what happens is when you drink that wine with a special mindset, it's a very simple thing. Something just like what you said occurs as the wine goes down into your tummy and starts to percolate. You know how quickly wine does. Percolate through every cell in your body. If it's done properly, it becomes a communion. It becomes a literal reconnection to God. Because the first thing in original sin, Adam ate the food forgetting him. And he woke up with remembrance of himself. That's where ego came in. And so a transformation took place when he ate the forbidden fruit, and he transferred the whole his mind and body became loyal to the source of the temptation. And it's been that way ever since. And that is the reason why Jesus said, eat this, remembering me, for this is my blood. Because literally, when the minute you start to eat it with that understanding in mind, something does really happen. And you'll hear the cry, the sobbing, all of the traumas pouring out with explanations of every move, every thought that the lady had in her life, and see them disappearing, and see the difference, that the new person that emerged from that. I've known this lady for 30 years, but never have I seen this kind of thing with her. She's always been a decent person, but all the life she's tucked everything down inside her, and she does the best thing she can do. She does the best she can, like a lot of people. But the minute she drank that wine, she saw all the connections, and they all broke. And suddenly she became transformed back to how God wanted her to be. And now she's doing very well.
Is that what would be classified as an exorcism?
No, it was.
Is that what would be classified as an exorcism?
No, it was a little transference of loyalties from the world, from her own struggle to be the good person she's trying to be, and the frustration of not being good enough, to the effortless way of being, so that for that day forward, the eating and the drinking, if you're eating bread or eating your dinner or whatever that you're eating, or drinking a glass of wine, whatever it might be, it keeps reinforcing it, so that eventually you develop into the nature of Christ. The nature of God develops in you, and with his character. So literally, in a manner of speaking, it's happening exactly as the Catholic Church says, but it has to be done in a very special setting, with a special mindset for it to be healing and magical, and literally magical. And there's healing involved.
That you can do to prepare your mind or your heart for this?
I've done it with smoking. Have you ever listened to my program where a person says, I can't stop smoking?
Yes.
You know why a person smokes? Because they smoke as an opiate to calm themselves down, to forget the conflict, so they can go into a business meeting or be upset and they take a cigarette and smoke to take away the conflict between what they're becoming through being upset and what they could be represented by their conscience, which is the conflict. So when they smoke, they're actually setting aside their conscience and they're anesthetizing their conscience. However, so I set the stage. I said, do you know how to be aware of yourself? Look at your hand. And does it look at your hand, but suddenly it doesn't look like your hand anymore. She said, yeah, that's strange. It looks like somebody else's hand. I said, now you're being objective. Now pick up the cigarette, put it in your mouth and take a puff. Light it up, take a puff, and see that what you're doing is doing that, forgetting what you are, what you're becoming. See? And so, do you see, it worked the other way around. He or she, because it's happened several times on the program, suddenly become aware. I said, how does it taste? They said, oh, it tastes awful. I said, always did. It's poison, you know. You're doing this to forget what's wrong with you. This is a false salvation. And all of a sudden, the truth resonates. Well, how I say it to them in the end, I've finished off my discussion with them by saying, you cannot do anything wrong when you're aware. And so if you're willing to be aware, the first thing you're aware of is your own fault. So the first important thing is to know that of yourself you can do nothing. But if you take that communion in the way that I suggest, new suggestion, my words become a living thing. The words that I'm using now to a person who's drinking that wine or eating that piece of bread, just a piece of bread they've eaten, appear to be blessed just because I gave it to them. I don't even make a ritual out of it. I said, here, it's from my hand to them and from my heart to their heart, literally awaken them to be conscious of a ritual that is no longer a ritual, it is a reality. And then that reality continues because they have to eat. There is something about food and drink that carries with it a curse. And the communion changes that. You mingle truth with these words, the kind of words that I'm saying right now, the setting up the stage for a person to become aware of what they're doing when they're eating and drinking, rather than just the opposite. You eat like a pig, and the minute you get upset, you eat and stuff yourself with food, and you're 500 pounds overweight. That's eating to forget what's wrong with you. But that only reinforces what is wrong with you, and you get worse and worse. The worse you get, the more you want to eat. The worse and worse, but the more you eat, the worse you become, because it reinforces the worse. See, now we reverse this. In a manner of speaking, there's a pure art or science to it, a Christian science to it. It's very hard to describe, but easy to do. Ladies and gentlemen, surely you understand, as I was talking to my friend about this communion, you see that you're taking communion every day, but with the wrong side of the force. Every time you put something in your mouth, you get too much more pleasure out of it than you should. That's a drug. Food is the most dangerous drug of all. It could also be life-giving. It could save you from seeing how wrong you are, from being saved. Food can do that. Food has embedded with it from generation to generation a suggestion, a curse. And when that curse is lifted by eating it in the right way, you have a new life.
Yes, indeed. And that was from program K4995, and you can get that at FHU.com on the premium side of the website. It may be up on YouTube, I don't know, but you can always help us support the program if you want to go to the premium side of FHU.com, where we have the archives. I mean, tens of thousands of hours of just amazing insight. And again, that is K4995. You can hear the whole thing. How many people in the world can explain something like that in 10 minutes? Not many. Not many at all. Now, I want to play one more clip here because this is from the end of the movie Revolver. It talks about how the ego is a trickster. Listen to this.
The ego is the worst confidence trickster we could ever imagine, because you don't see it.
And the single biggest con is, I am you.
The problem is that the ego hides in the last place that you'd ever look, within itself.
It disguises its thoughts as your thoughts, its feelings as your feelings. You think it's you.
People's need to protect their own egos knows no bounds. They will lie, cheat, steal, kill, do whatever it takes to maintain what we call ego boundaries.
People have no clue that they're in prison. They don't know that there is an ego. They don't know the distinction.
At first, it's difficult for the mind to accept that there's something beyond itself, that there's something of greater value and greater capacity for discerning truth than itself.
In religion, the ego manifests as the devil. And of course, no one realizes how smart the ego is because it created the devil so you could blame someone else.
Your greatest enemy is your own inner perception, is your own ignorance, is your own ego.
It is indeed. And but again, that ego, that's the thing that also connects you to God through humility. Don't forget that. You don't just get rid of the ego, because then you'd be getting rid of yourself. What you do is you discover the truth that sets you free, and that humbles you. And then your pride diminishes and your relationship with God grows. Quick break, FHU.com. Find out about the Be Still and Know exercise. That's the key right there to unlocking that door. All right, welcome back. Looking at the craziness of the world that we live in, now I want to go back, just do a flashback for you to the 1960s. Now, again, this is all part of the attempt to communize America, and people are falling for it. People in New York and other places, you know, in Washington State and Washington, D.C. Does anybody remember an organization called the Weather Underground? Well, some of the people who were in the Weather Underground ended up being professors at major universities. There was a documentary made about it, and this is just a teaser.
The FBI said the Weather Underground organization, which took credit for the bombing, is the same radical group which was responsible for the bombing of the U.S. Capitol in 1971 and the Pentagon in 1972.
Hello, this is the first communication from the Weatherman Underground. I'm going to read a declaration of a state of war. Kids know the lines are drawn. Revolution is touching all of our lives.
This system is going to be overthrown. It's going to mean a fight. And it's going to mean a lot of white people risking a lot of things.
Don't ever say we're going into a revolution. We're in a revolution. Now the question is, who's going to win it?
Freaks are revolutionaries, and revolutionaries are freaks. Within the next 14 days, we will attack a symbol or institution of American injustice.
Anyone who does have any information on where these people are located should immediately contact the FBI.
There's no way to be committed to nonviolence in the middle of the most violent society that history's ever created. I'm not committed to nonviolence in any way.
When you feel that you have right on your side, you can do some horrific things.
Ooh, what a statement that is. When you feel like you have right on your side, you can do some horrific things. This is what we see these people doing, and they're being encouraged by their leaders, also known as misleaders, deceivers. Yeah. Now, again, they have already told us. They told us decades ago what they intended to do to those of us who disagree. So here comes another clip from the Weather Underground.
I brought up the subject of what's going to happen after we take over the government. We become responsible then for administrating, 250 million people. And there was no answers. No one had given any thought to economics. How are you going to clothe and feed these people? The only thing that I could get was that they expected that the Cubans and the North Vietnamese and the Chinese and the Russians would all want to occupy different portions of the United States. They also believed that their immediate responsibility would be to protect against what they called the counter-revolution. And they felt that this counter-revolution could best be guarded against by creating and establishing re-education centers in the Southwest, where we would take all the people who needed to be re-educated into the new way of thinking and teach them how things were going to be. I asked, well, what is going to happen to those people that we can't re-educate, that are die-hard capitalists? And the reply was that they'd have to be eliminated. And when I pursued this further, they estimated that they would have to eliminate 25 million people in these re-education centers. And when I say eliminate, I mean kill 25 million people. I want you to imagine sitting in a room with 25 people, most of which have graduate degrees from Columbia and other well-known educational centers, and hear them figuring out the logistics for the elimination of 25 million people. And they were dead serious.
That's what you're dealing with today, ladies and gentlemen. This is just the continuation of it. It is a continuation of a nefarious evil that started at the turn of the century with communism. And the communists have made ground, believe it or not, even though enough of us have decided that we didn't want to go along with their program. Remember January 6th? Remember what they did on January 6th? How they took and they put a lot of people in prison and mistreated them? That was just a warning to what it is. If these people ever get back in charge, you have just heard what they're going to do. Just saying. And they'll totally justify it. Absolutely justify it perfectly. For the good. For the good of all. For the good of the country. So we do have evil at work. I mean, it is seriously at work. And you think that it actually backs down? It never backs down. Evil's nature is to move forward under all difficulty in every condition. It continues. It takes every moment of every day of us trying to do good and tries to turn it against us. That's what it does. It tries to use our commitment to what's right against us. So luck will favor the prepared. Be prepared. First in your mind and your heart, and then in every other way. Just be prepared. And then you won't need luck. You'll have preparation on your side. FAQ.com is where you find out about how you can get prepared mentally, spiritually, personally. Called Be Still and Know. It's in the Bible. And it does work. FAQ.com or P.O. Box 1000, Grants Pass, Oregon 97528. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, I was looking for Christian in there, but I don't see him.
Okay.
So I'm going to take us off here.